welcome to the February 10th, 2026 regular meeting of the City of Troy Commission. Copies of the agenda are available at the entrance to the room, and agendas and meeting minutes of prior meetings are available on the city website. The meeting will be conducted in accordance with the agenda as presented tonight, or amended by the Planning Commission.
State law establishes planning commissions. This planning commission is comprised of 9 residents appointed to serve our community. Members are appointed by the mayor and confirmed by city council. Other individuals participating in the meeting include representatives of the city's planning department, city attorney's office, and the city's planning consultant, Carlisle Workman Associates.
If you wish to address the Planning Commission, please come forward to that lectern, that microphone over there, and sign your name and address in the sign-in sheet. And please begin your remarks by stating your name for the benefit of the commissioners. All remarks are to be addressed to the commission and not to anyone else in the room. If you have a cell phone or any other device that might disrupt the meeting, please turn it off or to silent mode. And at this time, I ask our planning recording secretary, Kathy Zarnicki, to conduct the roll.
Mr. Biekner? Mr. Faison?
Here.
Mr. Fox?
Here.
Mr. Hudson?
Here.
Mr. Krent?
Here.
Mr. Lambert? Ms. Malahali?
Here.
Ms. Parakis?
Here.
Mr. Tagle?
Here.
Quorum present.
Thank you. Next is we have the approval of tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Mr. Fox moves.
I'll second.
And seconded by Mr. Krent. Does anyone have any issues? Okay, we'll go ahead and vote.
Okay, Mr. Faison?
Yes.
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Krent?
Yes.
Ms. Malahali?
Yes.
Ms. Parakis?
Yes.
Mr. Tagle?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next, we have the approval of the minutes from our January 27th, 2026 meeting. Do we have a motion for approval?
I'll move.
Thank you. Mr. Faison, Ms. Malala seconded it. Anyone have any edits, corrections, comments? Okay, we're ready for the vote.
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Krent?
Yes.
Ms. Malahali?
Yes.
Ms. Parakis?
Yes.
Mr. Tagle?
Yes.
Mr. Faison?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next is public comment for items that are not on the agenda tonight. So if you're here tonight to speak on something that is not on our agenda, please make your way to the microphone.
I accidentally signed in just because I thought it was my sign-in sheets over here.
Oh,
I was
okay.
wondering, just to, pardon me.
Okay, no problem, we'll make a note of that. Okay, so seeing no one, we're gonna close public comment and move on to item number 5, which is our potential zoning ordinance text amendment for the North Troy zoning district, and I believe Mr. Carlisle is going to introduce this.
Yes, thank you, good evening. This really is just a summary of my memo that was included in your packet, so there's no real new information I'm presenting tonight to the Planning Commission. But just more background for the general public. In 2018, the city of Troy updated their master plan for North Troy and adopted a special North Troy special area plan. While we do acknowledge that there are several elements of the North Troy special area plan that have been implemented, the zoning ordinance itself and the zoning map have not been fully aligned to be consistent with the master plan recommendation. In addition, we have seen recent interest in potential development interest in retrofitting of existing buildings and retrofitting of existing sites in North Troy. So based on these discussions, we have concluded that there should be some targeted amendments consistent with the master plan to bring the zoning ordinance and zoning map into alignment with that vision. So the boundary that we are talking about is the outline in red. We do note this is a study area that was actually exactly as shown in the master plan. So this aligns with the master plan boundary of North Troy. One of the items of discussion we'll have, though, is this the boundary that the Planning Commission would like to consider as part of a rezoning or a zoning consideration. We do note that the boundary may change based on some of the direction of the Planning Commission and what direction we decide to go with regards to potential zoning amendments. So just a quick background of the master plan. Again, this was done approximately 8 years or so ago. There are multitude of strategies in the North Troy Master Plan Special Area, but specifically there are 4 that really reflect what we're trying to achieve here. Infill service through property repurposing, promote residential infill through property repurposing, develop and strengthen the core of the area, and create a community gathering space. So in essence, these kind of all boil down to repurposing underutilized parcels for service and mixed use and residential infill, create better pedestrian and vehicular connections both internally and externally to the district, And lastly, create a sense of place, because you go there and a lot of times and it just doesn't look like there's a sense of community or a sense of place in that particular area. However, the zoning tells a much different story than what the master plan is trying to create. There are 6 different zoning districts. It varies from multifamily residential all the way to research center with various zoning districts in between. We note that these districts all have different uses, both permitted, allowed, and special uses. They have different bulk requirements. They have different design requirements. However, most of them are very office focused, and none of them really allow for a mix of uses and or any sort of residential type use in the particular district. Because you have 6 different zoning districts that are all kind of a quilted pattern throughout the site, it's hard to really create a unified vision and some design consistency in the area. So when we look at the master plan and compare it to the zoning ordinance and zoning map, we find some inconsistencies, and I'm going to quickly talk about those. So the master plan calls for a transformation specifically for a mixed-use direction, but the zoning right now is an office-only legacy zoning. So the recent North Troy developments that have come into the city for consideration have required a rezoning, mostly from O to offer a more mixed-use type product. The example we've got most recently is the Northland Enclave at 5455 Corporate. It was zoned from office to CB and multifamily to allow for a townhome and associated commercial development. So this is what we take as the indicator that the existing zoning doesn't really match the current desired development direction. The master plan calls for a node walkable center aspirations, but the zoning still functions really as a transition-only office type zoning. The O office zoning is really designed for, is not designed for commercial or a broad mix of component. It's designed for singular use of office type uses. And as many of us are aware, the office market right now is hurting, and we're not seeing a lot of interest in new office or reusing of office buildings right now in a particular area. It's a transitional office district right now that really limits retail and service uses. The master plan direction is for more variety of uses and amenities, and keeping it as an O office or office mixed uses, it really does create that existing mismatch from what the zoning calls for and what the master plan calls for and what zoning allows. The other inconsistency is we have seen a lot of interest, and the master plan actually calls for increased residential in the North Troy area. The plan really points direction to encourage housing near employment and service areas, create more of a 24-hour place, allow for more interest on the weekend activities, etc. And the current zoning does not permit that. Again, if the office were to remain if the area was to remain zoned primarily office or RC, residential or mixed use is either impossible or not feasible unless you do a sort of rezoning or a PUD, which again, the more we see of those requests, it is a sign that the plan and the zoning are misaligned with each other. And as we're seeing right now, is we're relying on case-by-case fixes. So development asked to do really what we're trying to get in the master plan: mix of uses, incorporating different uses in underutilized properties, etc. The zoning doesn't allow it, so we're doing it through rezonings, doing it through PUDs, and doing it kind of piecemeal. It's really not the best way to do planning and zoning. Is to do it on case-by-case, one-off developments as they occur. The master plan really does give us a vision of what we're trying to achieve in the area, and so we're hoping to work with the planning commission to align the zoning with what the master plan calls for to allow for a cognitive vision of the particular area. So that being said, there are 4 options that we are laying out for the planning commission to consider. The first is to create a separate new North Troy zoning district. This would be a new zoning district. The second option is to create a North Troy overlay district, which is basically a zoning layer on top of the underlying layers. The third option is to amend the existing zoning districts, RC, O, etc., to allow for additional uses and perhaps different bulk standards. And lastly is just keep zoning as it is, do nothing, and kind of deal with it piecemeal like we've been doing in the past. So for option 1, what would a North Troy district include? Well, it would be a separate zoning district, similar to how we all the other zoning districts. So it would have an intent statement, it would have uses, it had bulk dimensional standards, it had design and form standards. It would basically be like any other zoning district we have right now. The pros of this approach is it's the most comprehensive approach. It would clearly articulate the rule books of how development occurs in North Troy. It would be the easiest to communicate our vision for North Troy. It's one map and one set of standards rather than the piecemeal we have now. It can allow for form and placemaking to allow for the desired character that we're trying to achieve. And it reduces patchwork, so it eliminates the multiple various zoning districts that we have already in the area. The cons is it is time and staff intensive. If the neighborhood nodes in an indication, it could be a potentially big lift where we're going to need some real buy-in from the Planning Commission to move this forward. It does require a rezoning in a sense that you're creating a new district, so you're rezoning these properties to this new district. So there's always the fallout about what that may entail for the property owners and how their reaction to it may be. It also could create some potential nonconformities. Anytime you create a new district, you're in essence going to create nonconformities just by the essence of creating a new district. So that's something that we need to be cognizant of as we move forward. The second option is an overlay district. And essentially what an overlay district is, it's a zoning technique where you're actually placing additional regulations on top of the underlying regulations of the underlying zoning district. So you'll still have the O requirements, the OM requirements, the RC, but there's a layer on top that may talk about different uses or different bulk standards, et cetera. So it's just basically what it is. It's exactly what it says. It's a district that lays on top of the underlying districts. And it would include an intent statement, targeted use changes, design form requirements, setbacks. Often overlays are used for very specific things such as a streetscape block management plan, transition standards, et cetera. I'll be honest, it's more of a complex zoning technique. I have not used it in a lot of places, and it's not a very common tool to use, but it is an option the Planning Commission could consider. The pros of the approach is highly adaptable. It can vary the standards for specifically what exactly we're trying to achieve in a North Troy district. And it's potentially a good bridge strategy because it does support redevelopment but keeps the underlying zoning districts still in place. The cons of this, it's complex. There's 2 different layers to interpret. It can confuse applicants and staff. There's a burden from an administrative standpoint. We're gonna have to go back and forth between the 2 districts to see how they align. There's the potential issue of them not being consistent. So the underlying district may say one thing, the overlay may say another, and they may be potential conflicts with those that we would have to consider moving forward. There's some risk of limited reach. The underlying zoning still would be the base zoning district. You put these regulations on top, and there may not be enough to actually take out a lot of those kind of wonky issues that we're already dealing with the underlying zoning districts as well. And it's can be hard to read. Again, there's 2 different layers that applicants and prospective developers would have to review. And there's some legal and clarity issues if it's not written well. There could be some conflicting provisions. The third option would be simply to amend the existing districts. And we can either amend one of the particular zoning districts or we can amend all the zoning districts in that particular area. What that would basically amending the use tables to change the permitted and special uses in the targeted areas and districts. We could potentially adjust the dimensional and parking standards for those various zoning districts to ensure that they achieve the desired development we're trying to achieve. And we could add some additional design requirements or triggers for those underlying zoning districts as well. The pros of this would be it's perhaps the fastest, simplest way to do it. We're just simply amending text for the existing zoning districts to potentially lower political friction. We're not rezoning these parcels. We're simply just updating the text for these districts and how they apply. It would be less administrative work. We work with these districts all the time. We understand them. Applicants understand them. So there'd be some familiarity with them. It's not very complex. There's no new layers. There's no new districts. You're just simply applying what you already have in place. And it's quick. We can do this pretty quick and get this to the Planning Commission for consideration very quick. There's a lot of cons of this. This is not very place specific. So if we change the zoning district for one district, for the O zoning district in this area, It doesn't apply just to North Troy, it applies for all OSIS districts in the city. So there'd be some significant unintended consequences if we do it just to target changes in the North Troy district. There's, again, the same issue we have now with some unpredictability with design outcomes. You have 6 different districts, you even change the regulation for 6 different districts. You're gonna get different results, as we have seen already in North Troy. It doesn't solve our form and bulk mismatches. Again, what's done in O, if you changes, is gonna be different than what's gonna be allowed in OM, it's gonna be different than allowed in multifamily. So it doesn't really solve the issue that we're talking about trying to do here. And it's harder to achieve a cohesive vision because you're gonna still have 6 zoning districts in that area. The fourth option is the do nothing option. Basically do nothing. Keep the zoning as it already stands. Just handle development as they come along. Either they comply with the district under which they're zoned, or they may try to seek a rezoning, which the Planning Commission has considered in the past. And so we would just keep implementing the master plan through the rezoning process. The pros, it's the fastest, easiest thing to do. There's no drafting, no mapping, nothing will be done. There's no political lift. There's no rezoning, no changes to the amendment. It's simply just continue forward what we've got. It's predictable in the short term. Applicants know what the districts are and what they can do. And it avoids non-conformities. Since we're not changing anything, there are going to be no new non-conformities created. There's a lot of cons of this approach. We would be simply punting down the road what we're currently dealing with now, where we've got these mismatched zoning with what the master plan really is intending for us to try to achieve. It would, I don't think the request for mixed use, pedestrian-oriented development, and reusing existing properties are gonna go away. So I think you're gonna be faced with more rezonings you're gonna have to consider on a case-by-case basis moving forward. So it doesn't take that burden off your hands if we do nothing. Again, it would lead to inconsistent urban design. We'd be dealing with, parcel by parcel, piece by piece, with different zoning regulations as we move forward. And it doesn't address the known barriers that we're trying to achieve and the master plan is trying to achieve in this area, articulating the vision. So, with all that being said, it's a lot in there. There's really 3 questions that we're asking the Planning Commission tonight to consider. We are not looking for answers tonight. We're simply looking for some direction from the Planning Commission to move this forward so that we can prepare something to come back to you at a future date. So the first one is, does the Planning Commission support the main North Troy special area strategy of providing a compatible and vibrant mix of uses? If you don't, a lot of the rest of the discussion is a moot point because it takes off these zoning considerations off the table. 2, should any zoning recommendations include the entire North Troy area as I showed earlier, or should we limit it the geographic scope of the potential rezonings? And then 3, does the Planning Commission wish to pursue any zoning strategy, and if so, which one do you wish to pursue? That concludes my presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Carlisle. Just for everyone, for the benefit of everyone in the room, the way I think we'll do it tonight is we'll start with asking questions of Mr. Carlisle. Then I'm going to open it up to public comment in case anyone's here to talk about this issue. And then we'll turn it back for Planning Commission discussion where we'll address these 3 points. Yes.
And there's some representation from the development community here tonight. So
Oh, really? Okay, so yeah, anyone who's here for public comment, right? I mean, they'll come up at public comment?
it's not just residents, there's residents and there's,
I see what you're saying. Yep,
There's
okay,
both.
that's wonderful. Okay, yes, Mr. Tagle.
Mr. Carlisle, in option number 2, when you have an overlay district and a base district, in those areas that are conflict, which one governs?
Typically, the overlay district would govern. Because that would be much more specific than the general underlying zoning district, which it may be. But that's one of the concerns. This has to be very, very tightly written so that you don't, you try to, it may be impossible to eliminate those inconsistencies, but you try your best to write it so it's very tight so it doesn't lead to those inconsistencies.
In writing the overlay, is there a way, maybe there's not, I mean, can the underlying be modified so that the conflicts with the overlay don't exist or are eliminated?
I think it would go back to the point I said earlier. If you amend one district, you're amending the district for the entire city. So if you amend the underlying district, you're still having that regulation still applies everywhere. So it may create you can do both. You can amend the underlying district and create an overlay district. But you're still having that underlying district applies throughout the city, so you're still having some potential unintended consequences.
And if the overlay district is written to align with the underlying district, then you're really defeating the purpose of the overlay district. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so, any planner that's listening to me out here may disagree with me on this one, but overlay districts were really popular 10, 15 years ago. And they kind of gotten a little bit less out of favor just because they're really hard. They're hard to write, they're hard to implement, and they potentially create more confusion than they're actually the benefit of them. I'm not saying that's not, if the direction of the planning commission is to go in that direction, we can certainly make it work. It's not a clean zoning tool. It's a very complex and potentially burdensome zoning tool.
Mr. Faison?
Yeah. Well, a question on the overlay district. There's a reference that as a pro, that it's good as a bridge to future refinement. So just if you could expand on that a little bit.
It's almost like a half step to rezoning, right? And so you have the base underlying district still there, and you put this lever on top of it. So you're not rezoning those properties per se, or adding another layer. So it's more of a bridge. It's not a complete rezoning where you're actually creating a new district, but it's also not a do nothing or just amend the underlying zoning. It's kind of a bridge to a rezoning and keeping things kind of status quo, if that makes sense.
And then just one other quick question. Do you know the vacancy rate in the industrial space and the office space in North Troy? I mean, you drive through there, it looks like the vacancy rate will be significant, but I'm just.
Vacancy rate for the city, I was just talking to the assessor a couple days ago, is around 15%, and I would imagine it's significantly higher in North Troy.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Mr. Fox?
So I got onto the planning commission in 2023. It sounds like the special area plan was passed in 2018. And I guess I was just curious what percentage of current planning commissioners were on back when that special area plan happened.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, 4. So a couple. All right, that's helpful.
So when we, I think that my personal opinion, I wasn't asked, I think the North Troy.
What do you think, Mr. Simon?
I think the North Troy Special Area Plan is still relevant. I think it was well done, it's still relevant. I think it's a really viable goal. Why didn't we do anything? Well, around that same time, we had some upheaval in this organization. We had a new city manager, and we had some internal struggles. And then along came COVID, where we weren't physically in the building for a long time. And then when we were finally back in the building, the office market was so volatile, it just didn't seem right to do anything, to move forward with this until we figured out what the market was going to do. Well, now we kind of know, and it's starting to level out, but it's so much different than it was. And we've got underperforming offices here, and some have gone dark. And when they go dark, they're in play. And so now we're getting people kicking the tires on development, and it's coming. Development's coming. We can do nothing, and we can handle everything through PUDs and conditional rezonings, because it's coming. But it takes a lot of time, a lot of resources for a small department. Or we can figure out what we like. Again, I think this special area plan already tells us what we want, and we can. So that's why we're here. Is we didn't do things before because of COVID and the fallout of COVID.
That makes sense. And I think it's also, in a way, it's sort of an advertisement in the sense that when you drive through and you see all the offices, you don't know what's going on because we haven't updated the zoning ordinance to match so when developers come in and they look at the zoning ordinance, they're like, what the heck is going on?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't match what we're envisioning or what we envisioned back in 2018, and you're saying is still relevant. So this way, if we update it to match, then at least when developers come, it makes more sense. Instead of them coming and saying, this doesn't match the zoning ordinance, but we think this is what you want, at least now we're being put on the same page. So that's the way I'm looking at it.
And we never amend zoning based on, direction from the development community. But what is really interesting with this is that, May's agreeing with that. What's interesting in this is that we're actually having the development community come to us and say, we want to achieve what you have in your master plan. And doesn't happen very often. But the zoning just doesn't allow it to happen right now. So that's why they're asking for the rezonings. The PUD, let me go back here. Can we go, how do we go back to the, you know, the
The PUD
PUD,
is here.
Crooks and
Yeah.
that's essentially what would happen if we did the rezoning to what we're talking about here. Rezone the parcel that's got the multifamily and the commercial just a little farther north, that would also be in line. So we've already started the road of doing this in this area to align with the master plan. It's just being done through rezonings, not being done through a comprehensive, updated zoning ordinance amendment process. And that's, we're looking for direction from tonight.
Mr. Cox?
Well, and I just, for the sake of clarity, I know that easternmost parcel is controlled by consent judgment, correct? So it's, if you go one slide down, I think it's a little more accurate to the border of what,
That one? Oh.
there was one that had the zoning districts, and that, cuts out that northeast parcel because that's controlled,
Yep.
court judgment, so we can't really do anything with that.
That little triangle up there on the north side of
No,
the,
to the right.
This is zoned, this is for Delphi, I forget the
oh,
name.
that,
I
okay.
drive by this every day, I should know the name on the building.
Active?
Active.
Yeah.
But that's zoned R1B and it's controlled by consent agreement.
Oh,
And it
oh, I
also abuts single-family residential, so
Yes.
you,
While
it's a
you're
little bit
out
different
there,
animal, yeah.
could you point out the Northland, we called it Northland Enclave? That was
It's this one right here.
that's that, okay.
This used to be zoned O office. And
Okay,
they
right,
conditionally rezoned it for 82 townhomes and then some retail.
right. And then there was reference to Northfield Point Marketplace, what was that referring to?
Yeah, I had looked at one.
Northfield Point Marketplace?
I looked it up on my maps and it didn't come up as anything, I wasn't sure.
Is it in the report?
It's in your
I read
report.
that.
Yes.
Yeah, I couldn't find it either.
Was it referring to amenities that are there?
I'm wondering if it's referring to some of this development on Crooks Road with that,
That's actually from the master plan. So it's a direct link
interesting.
from the master plan.
I wonder what that.
So it must be a legacy development from the master plan.
Okay. I didn't, okay, go ahead.
May I ask what's going on with the southwest? Because in the original plan from 2018, that southwest parcel that's got blue dots, that was included. But it's not included in this rendering. Is there a specific reason for that?
It's also zoned single-family residential controlled by consent agreement.
It's another consent agreement.
Yeah.
Okay. So this whole, since 2018, has just been getting kind of chopped up by.
Well, that consent agreement, I've been here almost 24 years and that's been here longer than me.
Okay. Makes sense.
Does anyone else have questions for that? I mean, we can ask them again later, but should we open it up? Oh, go ahead,
One quick
yeah,
question.
Mr. Kern.
You know, one thing that was mentioned was some public space. Does the city own any property in there to make a public space?
No.
I don't believe so.
But that, go back to that. That's, hopefully, through the redevelopment, there's gonna be some dedication and it doesn't have to be public space, but it can be a big common space that can be used by the public.
I think we have that in a bit in that PUD. Okay.
I mean, I think that's gonna be pretty crucial when we talk about rezoning this area. I mean, when you look at it like this, it looks like there's quite a bit of green space. And I think that, personally, I'd like to see it preserved, but maybe turned into usable green space that's, with programming so I'd like to see that worked into whatever we end up doing with this area.
Agreed, but there's also a heck of a lot of asphalt.
Yes, for sure.
And we could eliminate some asphalt and replace that with
Infill.
with infill
Yep.
development and open space.
For sure. Okay. Yes, Ms. Malone.
I was about to talk about that asphalt because I know I've reached out to Dr. Sabadan. Oh, I just gave PhD or otherwise, another doctor too. Mr. Sabadan, MET Hotel, where it previously existed, right?
Yeah.
That whole parking lot is such an eyesore. That's the one that I keep talking to you about because there is there is a lot of asphalt, but there's also a lot of grass that is just growing wherever it feels like. And it's an ugly eyesore, obviously, one. There is also another area of asphalt that sits to the east of Crooks, which is that large space there. So when we are talking about the rezoning of this area, the boundaries are not exactly what you're showing on this map, but it's going to be the boundary without the consent judgment.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is, if I may.
Yeah.
This is the boundary that's shown in the master plan. The zoning, if you know, this is taken out,
Yes.
and that's taken out because they're consents. So I think the direction would likely be is we take these two out, but keep the rest of the boundary kind of similar as is.
Just out of curiosity, I'm going to ask you, Ben, Mr. Carlisle.
Dr. Carlisle?
Dr. Carlisle. I love giving titles, although I'm not a queen. What do you? So just some thoughts for me to be a little bit more clear in understanding all this. So right now the zoning is all hodgepodge. That's my best word here. If you were to kind of think about that first option that we were, if the planning commission goes in that direction, what do you think the space can potentially have? Will you reduce it to like 3 zones, 3 manageable zoning districts, or do you envision we'll just have 2 and try to bring development that way? I mean, I just want to know what because I know we have to reach out to the residents, we have to reach out to the property owners, the developers. I mean, there's so much more that needs to happen around this. So I don't want to put the cart before the horse here, but just I want to envision what, from the planning point of view, you see might work out.
My envision would be, I don't have an answer for you, to be honest with you. I don't know if it would be, if the direction is rezone that all to be 1 district or a new district, I don't know right now if it would be 1 zoning district, it may be 2 zoning district, it may be kind of a zoning district with different parts to it. We haven't thought that far out yet because we really want a direction from you all to be what the best approach would be. So if that's the direction the planning commission would go, we would come back with some options further to consider for that particular direction. It's likely it will have, because it's such a large area, we'll have to have different components to it. I don't think it'll be just 1 solid district with all the same regulations. There'll have to be a little nuance to it, but we haven't thought exactly what that nuance would be in terms of separated out by different geographic areas.
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
Want to add
Saravana?
on that?
I think it's well said. I think, in my mind, it's 1 zone, but it's got different performance standards for different parts of the zone, because the characteristics of this road, Crooks, and this road, Long Lake, are significantly different than the characteristics of Corporate and Northfield. Significantly different. We're over on the other side of Northfield. This is a great buffer. It's a fairly wide right-of-way. We have residential over here that we want to protect their interests. So we want to think differently about different areas in here, but I think it should be ultimately 1 zoning district. Is my how to write that? Well, that's what you pay us 3 to do.
Yep, go ahead.
One more thing to add to that is Crooks is the only road that I know of in that general area where development is happening. In the sense, new stores are opening, new businesses are coming up, tons of physical therapy, office spaces, some small eateries, all opened up in the last few years, all on Crooks. So I would, but definitely residential is missing. It's very different to the other pockets of Troy. So anyway, when we come to the discussion time, I'd like to get some thoughts on from others too. But I like where this is going though. I like the fact that we are allowed to really think about this whole space. It's exciting. It's exciting, honestly.
This is our farmers' fields now. We're out of farmers' fields. These asphalt parking lots and these empty buildings, this is our farmers' fields.
All right, we have a lot to discuss still, but I'm going to go ahead and open it up for public comment to see if there are people here who want to speak on this tonight before we start our discussion. It might be helpful. Go ahead and just sign in and then introduce yourselves. And we are going to do a 3-minute, we're going to do a 3-minute.
I know, made that thing, that's why I sent you a letter.
Yeah. We got your letter, but yeah.
Okay, my name is Mary Ellen Barden. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I understand Troy is considering 3 zoning options for North Troy, and I'm advocating for the case-by-case assessment rather than rezoning the entire area at once or doing nothing. I'd like to start with density because this needs to be a real concern. Big Beaver road traffic comes to mind as a comparison. Studies show it was nearing capacity. Troy continues to add density and pushing it to the limit. Traffic directly affects residents' quality of life. Are we in jeopardy of creating too much density? I raise this as an example of what can happen when density becomes the goal instead of compatibility. Blanket zoning limits your ability to evaluate traffic noise and congestion impacts on individual neighborhoods before they occur. Because Troy is 98% built out, broad zoning changes no longer make sense. This is when selectivity matters the most. A per-case approach allows you to evaluate whether a proposal truly fits the surroundings rather than rewriting ordinances to accommodate future development. The agenda attachment reference meetings with developers, and residents deserve transparency regarding which entities the city has met with and what they're proposing before zoning changes are made. Too often it feels like decisions are made without pertinent information being shared. I also want to address affordable housing, specifically as it relates to the master plan. The plan notes that high school students do not intend to move back to Troy. My own children, graduates of Troy High, don't aspire to large, expensive homes. They want modest, manageable homes that allow time for family and pets. Troy is sorely lacking this type of development. Instead, we seem to get either high-density, multifamily units or very large homes. If Troy is serious about affordable housing, developers should be required to include housing types that reflect this goal, such as a smaller single-story ranch homes rather than defaulting to dense multifamily developments. Affordable housing should be defined by livability and accessibility, not simply unit count. Another zoning issue that deserves attention is fencing. This isn't about limiting housing community interaction, it's about safety and livability. While fencing is sometimes framed as a barrier to walkability, many residents do not feel comfortable with strangers walking through the yards. I, as a single mother, found it very scary. Zoning ordinance should respect the balance between connectivity, personal security, and contained area for play for pets and children in established neighborhoods. This is why per-case review matters. Height transitions to existing neighborhoods must be thoroughly designed. Rezoning large areas to vastly different uses makes it hard to protect long-term residents who bought into a specific environment and deserve to have the conditions preserved. Developers should never be allowed to leverage or threaten long-standing easements between neighborhoods. In my own case, the PUD behind my home proposed built lines that conflicted with the court-ordered easement protecting our neighborhood. That experience highlights why careful oversight and accountability is necessary. We also need to apply lessons learned from recent PUDs where what was presented is not what is being built today. Wood areas should be preserved whenever possible.
Yeah, that's time, but thank you very much, and thank you for sending the letter ahead of time. I read it, took notes, and thank you for that. Yeah, thank you. Okay, who wants to speak next? Go ahead, same 3 minutes. Please introduce yourself. I think you guys have signed in, right? You already signed in?
Yes.
Perfect.
So my name is Manny Keinecke. I'm a principal with S.R. Jacobson Development Corporation, and also Sandy Aaron is here as well. I just wanted you to get to know him because we have a big project in the city. Sandy's our in-house counsel and lending expert and all-around terrific, funny guy. Anyway, we have a project that is dead center in this district, and so obviously what you're doing here is going to affect us. But I'm also thinking that it would be probably a good idea for you to have an idea of our project so that when you're dealing with different zoning types, et cetera. Brent, is it possible to project our project on the screen so we could just talk a little bit about what it's, the components of the project that need to be included, we think, in the district? If you don't, I have 3 copies I can just spread on the table.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to get into, I'm not the chair, but I don't know if we want to get into weeds on details,
No. not in the weeds, just general.
3 minutes, does not apply to him?
Yeah.
It does apply. So maybe
Okay, so
tell us
we
when
are
you can pass
trying.
something around.
So, to keep it under 3 minutes, so our project is to try to adaptively reuse the Plex building, which is at 900 Tower Drive, which is the southeast corner of the ramp in Crooks Road. Okay, so we have been working on this now, we have it under contract, we've been working on it for about a month. We have all the subtrades coming in, we have done our asbestos surveys, we are working with Krieger Claddis Architects, et cetera. And so our proposal is that we're going to try, we'll rip out the annex, which is in the back, which doesn't have much use, keep the tower, turn that into roughly 200 residences on 14 floors, and put a couple of extra, 2 or 3 extra, probably 4-story buildings on the site because they can accommodate it, and then put some retail up front along Crooks Road. So what we're looking for is flexibility to make this possible. And however we do it, we don't really care whether you do it as a PUD, whatever mechanism you have here is fine with us, and we're happy to work with you. And the very first thing that we did when we put under contract is we met with the planning department and with them to see, is this something that the city would support? So I just wanted to give you that input. And when you consider your alternatives, that for people like us who are going to be trying to redevelop this area and adaptively reuse the buildings that are there if possible, that you make that possible for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here? I know you mentioned you're not here. Okay. All right, if no one else is here to speak, we'll go ahead and turn it back. I'm going to close that, and we'll talk now. We'll turn it back for discussion. I don't know, Ms. Dufresne, if we need to make a resolution or if we can just discuss this more first.
I think it's okay if you just discuss this as.
Okay. One thing that I'd like to do, and I'm trying to think if I want to do it up front or wait, but I think I want to do it up front. You guys can tell me if you agree with me. I'd like to hear what Mr. Carlisle, Mr. Savadan, and Ms. Dufresne think of the 4 options, and if, from their perspective, what they would recommend to us, because I feel like they have a certain expertise that we can then weigh their considerations into our discussion. Does that sound fair, or do we not want to?
No.
Can I?
No, you want to discuss it first? Yes, Mr. Faison.
I was gonna say, I'm done. I just wanted to ask one clarifying question first.
Yeah, of
if
course,
I
go
could.
ahead, for sure.
So we've got the existing zoning that's inconsistent with the master plan, but right, we've got the PUD. We've got the project on Northfield that's, tore down the office buildings, residential. And we've got this project that's potential, so all those projects are doable. It would appear without changing the zoning. Is that?
No,
What we do, okay, go ahead.
So-
Finish.
they're not. That got rezoned for a PUD because it was not to be achieved with the underlying zoning that was in place.
My point is, this body and the city have the ability to approve those projects, even though it's inconsistent with the zoning. That was what I was saying.
Yes, and one of the issues we look at, when you look at a rezoning or a PUD, is it consistent with the master plan?
Okay.
So you rezoned this, or the city rezoned it because it was consistent with the master plan. Same thing here, you rezone it because it's consistent with the master plan. Mixed use, infilling,
Right.
office, et cetera. This would require a rezoning. The parcel that Mr. Knickie talked about would require a rezoning. There's other developments that have been discussed, that what they want to achieve, what the master.
So approving those projects actually moves the zoning closer to the master plan.
It does.
So
It's done-
so
it's
it's
done
more
on a-
efficient to adjust.
And it's
the
done on a
zoning.
case-by-case
Right.
basis, and there's no guarantee that, there's no unifying vision by doing each one as
You've
a
answered my
separate
question.
PUD or rezoning.
I got it.
And then perhaps maybe the other problem with not doing anything and letting it come in is, what if someone comes in and wants to do something that isn't consistent with the master plan, but it's zoned, and then we're sort of going back and forth, well, they have the legal right, but it's inconsistent, and we're supposed to respect the master plan, but at the end of the day, the zoning ordinance controls. Mr. Hudson?
Yeah, the Marine Corps has got an acronym they use quite often, and that is, keep it simple, stupid. I like item number 1 because it sets out standards, and if I'm a developer, I'm going to have some good feeling that my new neighbors, whoever they may be, coming in, are going to be compatible with me. And if we set some standards, I presume we're going to have to mini zones within this large north area. But, you know, if I'm going to invest a couple $1 million or more, I want to know who's going to be next door to me instead of somebody who comes in with an overlay and decides he'd like a conditional zoning for a gas station. So I vote for number 1.
So number 1 being the complete rezoning.
Yes.
Although I would argue that it's probably not the simplest, it's probably the hardest, but I get what you're saying. Mr. Fox?
So to kind of echo the points Mr. Hudson made, I also agree with maybe instead of saying keep it simple, stupid, like the Occam's razor approach, where it's, you know, go with what gets you there in a straight line the best. And I think by doing a rezoning, what will help is that there's a lot in this parcel. It's a lot in this area. It's very big. There's a lot of green space that we want to protect. There's a lot of asphalt that we want to make sure is reused in a way that is consistent with how we want the neighbors to feel. And I feel like the best way for us to get a control over it would be to rezone it to a single zoning district, or however many, 1 or 2, do the rezoning, and basically just tell developers exactly what we want, instead of them having to piecemeal and, you know, come to these proposals and go through dozens of planning commission meetings and, you know, council meetings and all that fun stuff. So I think it just makes sense to go for the rezoning and not, you know, kick the can down the road, as it were.
Others? Mr. Kraft?
Keeping it simple, I vote for number 1, New North Troy-based district, period.
New rezoning.
Yeah.
I love it that it's simple, but you got that? You got that, Mr. Carlisle?
What time do you have it done tonight?
Anyone else? Ms. Malala-Holly?
Yeah, thank you. Give me 1 second. Let me go back to the. So one clarification that I seek, and that is in the grid that you have provided us, or the matrix that you have provided us with all the pros and cons, I did not understand for New North Troy-based district, flexibility to vary standards. In parentheses, it says core versus edge, and you have mentioned con. I did not understand it, so if you don't mind giving me an explanation.
Yeah, so if we go with one district without any nuances, there's no separation between, as Brent discussed, the separation of the difference between Crooks Road and Northfield Parkway. However, if we did do a North Troy district where we had some flexibility in design standards, this flexibility to vary standards, core versus edge, could be a pro if it's done the right way. So this was written as if it was just one standard zoning district without any nuance to it. But we could do it in such a way which we could have differentiations between different parts of the zoning district.
Okay. If I were to weigh in, although we did not get to hear their comments, but if that is something that we are already on talking about it, I think I already mentioned way back, Brent, I really like the idea that we are doing a rezoning of this entire strip that, or boundary line that you have in front of you on the screen. And there are many reasons to it, but one of the biggest reasons that I would like to talk about, and although many planning commissioners may or may not agree with me, is in this is the only area that I envision where we can go vertical as opposed to horizontal. And why am I supporting a vertical growth is because the nature of the space is unlike the rest of the city of Troy. It is hardly residential in how it looks. It's not entirely office. It's commercial office, little bit residential, but very haphazard way of how things have been happening in that area. Nothing wrong, but that's how it was back then. But now, if we can give it a structure, we should see this space as a space where we can bring some multifamily housing, some affordable housing, and we can only do it if we go vertical. We cannot do it if we don't go horizontal, and we already have buildings existing in the space where it is vertical, especially the CMU building complex, it's vertical. If we can go vertical, this is the only space. And most cities which are restricted in terms of land, where they cannot grow, where there's a clear-cut boundary and they cannot grow anymore, those cities are definitely looking to grow vertical. So 4 stories and 5-story residential is very, very common. I'm not talking just office space. And for me, this particular area, I think, is the growth area for the city of Troy. So from those points of view, if we can rezone this area to create those kind of spaces, because all along we just keep hearing this from many families where affordability is still a big issue in the city of Troy. And the only way we can help some of those communities who are wanting to come to Troy but they don't have the right financial means, we have to go vertical so we can at least allow them to get into apartments and slowly transition into homes. The industrial nature of some of the spaces within this zoning area that we are considering, I think accommodates what I think we can see the city grow into. So I would vote for option number 1 if I were doing that, yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I agree with everything you said, except for I don't know, we've seen it so many times that builders build apartments and they're still not affordable somehow.
That is true.
So there's
yes.
really nothing we can, well, I don't know if there's nothing we can do about it, but that's a conversation that needs to be had about what we're looking for. But anyway, Mr. Tagle.
Again, I think I'm agreeing with what I'm hearing around the table, but for one, the most important reason for me is the last item on that matrix. It delivers predictable redevelopment outcomes. You know, I think for us, that's very important, so we're not talking about which governs the overlay or the underlying district or the conflicts, and to do nothing is foolish. We have to address the issues that we're facing today. So, yeah, I am a proponent of the initial number 1 option for that. The strongest element on there for me was the redevelopment predictability.
Okay. Did everyone weigh in? Mr. Faison, did you tell us you like number 1? I forget now.
Yeah, I like number 1. My question to Mr. Carlisle convinced me that if we're approving projects to make them consistent with the master plan, we should make the zone consistent with the master plan. Thank you, Doctor.
I don't think we even need to ask Ms. Dufresne about the overlay that she was so excited about.
No, I do not like the overlay.
No, I know.
No.
I'm joking, I'm teasing, because I know that you don't like that, because it came up at another
I mean,
meeting.
I'm not going to offer a contrary opinion. I just, the devil will be in the details, right? Like, the way that Ben has, report has framed the issue is the only right answer is number 1. I mean, honestly, there's no way that anyone's going to sit here and approve or want to go with either of the other 3 options. So the devil in the details, I mean, because nothing that we draft is going to eliminate somebody coming in with a PUD or a conditional rezoning, because we can't anticipate every single thing that, developers want. So, I mean, obviously, number 1, the first option is the best option, but it will be a big lift, and I think there'll be a lot of conversation around this table about what the details of 1, 2, or 3 districts within the zoning district. So,
Mr. Tagle?
But we really have to look back to the policy document, the master plan, to kind of ground us as to how those details are crafted, because that's really the guide that we should be using.
And in 5 years, we may amend the master plan again.
And we may.
Burn that bridge when we get there.
Okay, so I think that we're all I think we'll speak through a resolution in terms of which option we want to go with. I think I wanted to ask you in terms of, we briefly talked about at our pre-meeting about a committee. I know that we want to move this quickly forward, and we thought that maybe a committee would slow things down. So could you at least describe what you have in mind in terms of loose timeline, no pressure, but what you see, how at what points along the way are you going to get input from the planning commission? How do you envision that? Or are you not prepared to answer that at this time?
Am I allowed to take vacation?
I'm gonna start letting you take vacation now?
I don't think we have a concrete answer. I think what I think we'd do is probably put our heads together and come back with kind of a roadmap for you all, how we move this forward, whether that be informal or whether we come back and present at the next meeting for you for your consideration. I'd like some time to think about kind of how we map this all out.
Okay. Yep, Mr. Fox.
Well, and I think it should be noted, just for the sake of, those who are interested in transparency, the roadmap will obviously include all of the mandated, like, public hearings and bringing things to council and making sure people have the opportunity to come in and comment on everything as well. So
Yep.
I trust you guys, I personally at least trust you guys to strike that balance between, getting it done in a reasonable time frame as well as making sure the public's engaged.
That's a good point. There's gonna be a lot of opportunities for public input, a lot of opportunities for various levels of feedback, both here at this level as well as in the public. But we also need to move this in a timely manner. We can't sit around and take a lot of time to do this as well.
Yeah.
You mentioned transparency, and Mary Ellen mentioned transparency. I just want to say, when we have a formal application submitted, we're 100% transparent. But when we have pre-application meetings, those are private. So when someone like Mr. Konecki and his team meet with us on a potential project, we can't advertise that to the world because it may be under contract, or it's not even under contract yet, it's on the market. And if word gets out, our conversations start to affect the marketplace, and we kill projects. And that's not something we want to get involved with. So I think we're transparent, but we're not going to get to a point where we have a pre-application meeting to provide informal direction and have informal conversation with the developer. That's private, and it's always going to be private.
But to be clear, once something's submitted to our office or your office, it's free.
It's foyable,
Everyone can get access to it.
And as Mary Ellen knows, when she asks me a question about a project that we have an application for, I answer usually the same day, right?
You are the best.
Did you hear that, everyone?
I admire you greatly.
A doctor and the best.
And then I just wanted to also just address the wooded areas comment that was made by Mary Ellen in terms of, there's a provision in our zoning ordinance, section 13.07, and I think it's 7 pages long, talking about tree preservation. And every item that comes before us, there is a tree inventory, and every tree that's removed has to be, it's analyzed on the type of tree, and there's a whole chart of what trees need to be replaced versus not. But we do take that seriously. I know I do, and it's always discussed at our meetings in terms of, it's part of the site plan application. So you definitely take a look at that. And in terms of enforcement, there is a provision, it's subject to Article 3 of the zoning ordinance in terms of provisions if they don't follow through with the tree inventory, tree replacement, and it is part of the site plan application.
Can I make one more thing?
Yes.
I just remembered. So we have a number of engineering consultants that we utilize, and we've asked, our engineering department asked one of our consultants to look at our infrastructure for this area, because the infrastructure demands for residential are different than infrastructure demands for office. There's more flushes, there's more showers, things like that. So they're going to be. We know that we've seen the tea leaves, and we see, the volatile marketplace. We see change coming, and we're getting prepared. And before we, or I should say, in lockstep with this, we're making sure that the underlying infrastructure, roads and utilities, can support what we think is coming, so that we can share that with you when we have the results.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, yes, Ms. Malala.
Sorry, an afterthought. There's a particular street there, Mr. Carlisle, that you mentioned that in your packet. I forget the name of it. Very short street that runs kind of parallel to Crooks. And there was a comment made about that particular street that I needed a little bit of clarification on. King Street, King Drive?
New King Street.
New King Street? Yeah, there was a comment that was made. I needed clarification on that, yes. In the packet, I'm sorry, my notepad is somewhere in the house, and that's why I am struggling today.
Yeah, is the packet also not loading for you?
The packet I had, my own personal notepad is somewhere in the house, but I just was curious about what the issue was with that drive, since Mr. Savadan mentioned that infrastructure is something that they're looking at in more depth.
Did they reference a pedestrian crossing?
Yes, pedestrian crossing. Thank you so much. Yes, what is that area? What do we have there actually across, on both sides of that street currently?
Right now, it's just light industrial warehousing. There, I think with the master plan, I think it's a comment from the master plan,
Yeah.
and it talks about a pedestrian crossing from Northfield to New King in this general area.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a quote from
From the,
direction from the master plan.
thank you. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Yes.
But right now, New King's primarily just light industrial warehousing type.
Yeah. That's what I was wondering, okay.
I think can someone make a resolution? Mr. Fox?
I would like to formally resolve that the planning commission would request that the planning office pursue the first option presented by Mr. Carlisle, the rezoning of the North Troy area.
Is that everything you need? Is there a second?
Yeah.
Mr. Pratt? Any discussion, further discussion? All right, I think we're ready for the roll call.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Krant?
Yes.
Ms. Malala?
Yes.
Ms. Kourakis?
Yes.
Mr. Shagel?
Yes.
Mr. Faison?
Yes.
And Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Excellent, so you've got your work cut out for you. Thank you,
Simple.
Mr.
Be
Carlisle. Yep, keep it simple.
Much appreciated as always.
Are you, okay, we're moving on to item 6.
Mr. Savadan, I apologize, he's directed me to leave this discussion item, so I am going to bid you adieu.
Okay.
Have a wonderful night, Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carline.
Dr. Carlisle.
Good job.
I know, thank you, Dr. Carline.
And Ben, before you leave, one quick thought. Thank you for organizing this so well, especially that table at the very end that was comparisons of the yeses and the nos and cons and
Appreciate it.
pros.
Thank
That
you.
was well done. It made it
Thank
really
you.
easy, again, for me to make determination.
Appreciate it. These two gentlemen were very helpful as well in the process.
Yeah.
It was a team effort. Thank you all.
Sure.
Okay, we're now on item 6, zoning ordinance text amendment, ZOTA 259. It's the detached accessory buildings, which we saw a few weeks ago, and I think we're back. And I think Mr.
We're gonna tag team, I'll start, and Jared will chime in.
Perfect.
So I'm gonna state the obvious, but I bet you there's at least one person in the room, I don't know who, but there's gonna be someone who doesn't know this. So we have 5 one-family detached zoning districts, R1A, B, C, D, and E. And R1A is our largest lots, and it goes all the way down, gets progressively smaller lots to E. And in the northwest corner of the city is R1A with our larger lots, and it's a little slightly lighter shade of yellow. And as you go towards the southeast, it goes A, B, C, D, E. And you see the shades get darker, it goes from A, B, C, D, E. E's are smaller lots, and they're mostly in the southeast area of the city. If your eyesight's as bad as mine, you can't really see this very well, but this is R1E here, 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 and here. And right here, this subdivision there's 5 subdivisions in this area here, north of 14 Mile, a little bit west of I-75, that area, that's R1E. Again, 5 subdivisions, and they were developed at a time where we were just transitioning from township to a city, and there's a whole bunch of lots here that do not comply with the minimum lot size or the minimum lot width for R1E. Very small, and a lot of them have accessory buildings that do not comply with the setback requirements. They've got to be at least 6 feet in the rear side yard, okay? So the zoning ZBA made a motion for the planning commission to look at this issue because they foresee the potential for a lot more variance applications to be submitted because of all the non-conforming accessory buildings. There's hundreds of them here, okay? So that's what I try to summarize that in a couple of sentences, and I'll leave that zoning ordinance with an easy reach, that map, in case anyone has any questions. So we took a stab at language, And what we proposed was, we have, in our general provisions article, Article 7, we have accessory building language. And we decided the best approach was to put this language in our non-conforming section. But we didn't want people that were looking at our accessory building provisions to get lost and not see that there was language in our non-conforming section. So we said, see section 14.04E for provisions related to non-conforming detached accessory buildings in the R1E. So that's, you know, it's a.
Pointing you.
Yeah, pointing you in that direction, so we don't want anyone to get, this is a complicated, Mary Ellen will agree with me, it's 300 pages, it's not the easiest read, and if you can make it a little bit easier for people to get through it, that's what we did. And then in our non-conforming structures section, we added this provision and we underlined it in this document, and it says, in the R1E zoning district, non-conforming detached accessory buildings with an existing side and/or rear yard setback of less than 6 feet may be reconstructed within the same non-conforming building footprint, provided the construction shall not increase the degree of nonconformities for such building as determined by the zoning administrator. It's a fairly simple amendment. It applies not just to that small area I pointed out. It would apply to all R1E districts throughout the city. And Jerry, you want to explain kind of what we did to kind of look at the R1E?
Yeah, so we were able to get data on all of the non-conforming lots. Well, let me go to I think I need the keyboard. There you go. To see if there's a consistent pattern for non-conforming accessory structures for other parcels in the city that are zoned R1E and are also are non-conforming. So this is a map that shows all of the non-conforming, a layer on our zoning, on our GIS map, that shows all the non-conforming R1E parcels. So either by lot size or the blue ones, frontage, the yellow and green includes both. And we found there was a consistent pattern of accessory structures in those lots that were non-conforming based on building footprint. Therefore, we think it was appropriate to have the zoning ordinance text amendment apply to all R1E rather than just an overlay for that area.
And we also spot checked. So the only way to accurately measure is to get a tape measure, and that's assuming you know where the property lines are, and measure every single accessory building in R1E. Well, that's not going to happen. But through GIS, you can zoom in and you can get a pretty good idea that it's within 6 feet or pretty darn close to 6 feet.
The standard variation is usually 2 feet, so we can measure within 2 feet, and there are a lot of accessory structures beyond that area that are within.
And language is a great example of KISS.
Yep.
It's beautiful, right to the point.
Oh, good.
There was also parcels that were outside of the non-conforming lots in R1E that had that as well. So one nuance, after discussing it with Paul and in this direction from ZBA to ZBA, was if the language should apply to only the non-conforming lots or the non-conforming structures in all of R1E. And given that the majority of them are in the non-conforming lots, but there are also accessory structures in the conforming lots, our opinion generally was that it should apply to all R1E, and then that would be more consistent. But that is kind of a point of nuance.
So what are the unintended consequences? If there's a property owner in R1E, which is our smallest zoning district, if they have a non-conforming shed and they want to rebuild the shed, they can knock it down and rebuild on that slab without seeking a variance. So if people are wondering, well, what's that going to look like? It's going to look like it does today,
But probably nicer.
but probably nicer and newer.
But that's an intended consequence.
That's true, it's an intended.
That's not an unintended, because I wrote down, what are the unintended consequences we need to be aware of? I couldn't think of any, but I wanted to ask you
That's
guys.
unintended consequence, we don't know what they are.
Well, there's one, I can think of one.
You know, we can.
I can think of one.
Predict one.
Right.
We've got, this is just R1E, you've got A, B, C, and D. And D is a little bit bigger than E,
Yeah.
but it's still relatively small. The same doesn't apply to D.
Yeah.
But we've got data from that subdivision that's
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
compelling, showing you that majority of the lots there are going to be seeking variances to rebuild sheds that have been there for 70 years.
Right. So it's not an unintended consequence as much as it is we cast a net and we didn't throw it far enough in case we missed some D. But I'm wondering if I don't know if there's room for this in the zoning ordinance, probably not, but from an administrative standpoint, perhaps, maybe I shouldn't say this, but perhaps maybe if you're a R1D and you have the same issue, that we would at least waive the fee for the variance thing. So that way there, you know, but.
See, this is slippery slope, not unintended consequence.
Yeah, I know, I recognize that, yeah.
I think that the direction, we were given direction from the zoning board, I'm not an attorney, I'm just speaking as a planner. We were given direction from the ZBA based on their findings related only to R1E.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm not aware of a pattern of variances or potential pattern in R1D, C, B, or A. If the ZBA identifies one and forwards us direction to look at that, we will.
All right,
Because the option would be to waive the administrative review on all zoning districts that meet this criteria. So I think we briefly discussed it, and I think we thought that this was a better, more narrow approach to the very narrow issue.
It can always be revisited if something comes up.
Yes.
Mr. Tagle.
You mentioned the word shed. Is that the primary building type that we're talking? What about an ADU?
So the primary building type is garage.
Okay.
That's mostly what we're talking. There are some sheds, but primarily garages.
But if I wanted to build an ADU in the non-conformed side yard or rear yard and build it away from there, is that acceptable with this language?
So for those that don't, an ADU is an accessory dwelling unit.
Sorry, yeah.
And they used to be known as granny flats. There's other mother-in-law suites is another term, but the technical term and the more acceptable, appropriate term is ADU. They're not permitted in the city of Troy.
Well,
That's a whole other can of worms.
Let's come up with the 21st century here.
Yeah.
Seriously. I guess I didn't realize that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a discussion we can have, hopefully not tonight, but that's, we can talk about in the future for sure.
Ms. Sorry.
And that kind of thinking also got me to think about greenhouses or any kind of small garden spaces. Can they build that, or is it just?
If it's existing
It
and
has to be
non-conforming.
existing. That's where,
Okay.
I think that's the distinction here. It has to be already existing on a particular slab or footprint. The new construction, new non-conforming is not going to be, not going to be.
Okay.
But it isn't limited to a shed.
So
Accessory, any detached accessory.
Exactly.
we have a nuance ordinance where we have accessory attached, accessory detached, what this is, and we have accessory supplemental, which applies to different types of accessory buildings, so it's kind of nuanced. But what we're really talking about here, for the most part, is garages.
Yeah, just from the aerials, there are some areas that have like those corner sheds that are non-conforming. I was in the wrong house. In this area, a handful. The majority of them are garages here, and some here.
So this sorry.
Go ahead.
So this is mostly indicative of the fact that there are non-conforming garages, not non-conforming units.
Yeah, part of the direction that we initially interpreted from ZBA, and that's part of the scope limiting that would prevent the logic of a slippery slope, is that it would only apply to the non-conforming lots. But given, well, that's part of the discussion and the nuances. If you wanted it to be that way, that would be reasonable. But there are going to be a percentage that have very similar cases that would try to apply for a variance and they wouldn't get it because or maybe harder for them to get it because their lot is conforming and they could easily move it. Whereas all the ones that would apply for variances with these non-conforming lots would probably get it. So that's why we would want to apply this rule there.
So sorry to go back to her point, but so if there's a garage there and they knock it down, they can put a greenhouse there on the same footprint? Because it's just an accessory building, the use is irrelevant.
No, I think, I'd have to look it up, but I think greenhouses are considered accessory supplemental buildings.
Okay, so we cover it in
Like
the zoning
gazebos,
ordinance.
pool,
Oh, right.
Separate category.
what are those things called?
Jacuzzis, hot tubs.
Yeah, like the pool house
Pool house, yeah.
and greenhouses, there's different,
They're not considered under
Yeah.
this thing. Okay,
But they're
Mr.
not
Vaughn.
detached accessory.
there's supplemental.
Right.
They have a different,
Yeah.
they're covered
Defined
under something
differently.
different. So we're really talking about garages and
We are,
sheds.
for the most
Okay.
part, yeah.
Well, having been, in the ZBA conversations regarding this topic, coming through to the planning commission conversations about this topic, I just want to acknowledge the work that the planning office put into this pretty much checks all of the boxes that came up at ZBA. I mean, really, the goal of all of this was to, hopefully get ahead of a lot of residents who suddenly just want to rebuild their garage and then they have to pay the $500 for a variance and all that stuff. So I think that this language here does it in the simplest way possible. It makes it so that it clears up any question that could come up with it. And I think overall it really does meet what the ZBA was looking for with it. So I appreciate it.
And I think it's a win-win, because at the end of the day, if someone wants to improve the property, let's not put barriers there. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, so it's a resolution, so we're recommending this to,
For public hearing?
oh, I see, we're recommending it for a public hearing.
If we, do we need a motion, or can we let the consensus of discussion reflect that it's ready?
That's fine. But you need to, you're setting it for a public hearing.
So we're gonna schedule a public hearing, and then at the end of the day, we're a recommending body, and it's gonna go to city council?
Yep,
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
so we'll see you again.
Okay. All right, that's all we need? All right, thank you. We're gonna move on to item 7, which is our Planning Commission Annual Report. We don't have Mr. Lambert here to catch any mistakes.
He caught one.
Oh, he did. Did he email it to you? I was nervous, because I don't keep the record. I wasn't keeping really good track, so.
He caught one, he was predicting whether, trying to guess if anyone would catch it or not. We didn't put his name on there as a member.
Oh, no wonder he caught it.
Oh my gosh, I didn't catch that.
My immediate response to that was, it's JR's fault. No, we fixed, so the version that's gonna go to city council, so we fixed it immediately. The version that's gonna go to city council and the version that's gonna be on the website is already fixed.
But he's listed as having gone to the planning commission training.
He is, but we forgot him, I am so sorry.
Oh,
I got
that's,
another.
He was laughing.
oh, you have another one?
On that
Okay.
same page, it says, Planning Commission held 10/19 meetings during the
Oh,
year.
wow.
It's just that the 9 key is right next to the 0 key.
After?
It was Ben's fault.
I have a question for Mr. Tagle and/or Mr. Hudson, who are on the Sustainable Development Review Committee. Because the items that you guys did, it was like I wanted to know what SDP status means.
Do you want me to take
Maybe
a run
it
at
should
it?
remain a secret.
Keep it simple.
I can step in.
Yeah, please.
It's a sustainable development project. We have a provisions in the zoning ordinance where we, the Sustainable Development Committee, can grant administrative relief from some of the provisions of the zoning ordinance. The main one we see is in the IB district. The IB district does not permit parking in the front yard
Yeah, that's what I.
unless it is a sustainable development project, which has sustainable elements like rain gardens and bioswales and low impact lights and things like that.
Okay.
So they said there was, in 2025, Mr. Hudson and Mr. Tagle attended 2 meetings that are reflected here.
Yeah, and they allowed the front, parking in the front yard. Okay. Did anyone have any other comments or questions? One thing that I noticed about the list was it seemed like there was quite a bit of development in and around the Big Beaver area, which was kind of neat to see. And a lot of infill, I thought, and repurposing of buildings. So I thought all of that was, we're going in the right direction, I felt like. Quite a bit of residential as well, so mixed use. That was a good mix.
Yep, it was good.
So this is for our information, we're not, or do we have to approve it or something?
No, we're required by Enabling Act to do this annually. Not every community does it, but I think it's I always like doing it because every January when I see the list, it's like, wow, we accomplished a lot last year.
For sure.
And it's kind of a shot in the arm for all the hard work that everyone at this table puts in.
Sure.
Yep. Okay, so then you're presenting it to city council or something like that?
We'll
You send it
put this in
out?
a packet and send it on, and
Okay.
we'll put it on our website. So anyone who wants to see what we've been up to, it'll be transparent, we'll have it out there.
All right.
It just goes as a consent agenda item.
Yeah, it'll be consent agenda, yeah.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments on that or questions? Okay, let's move on to public comment for items that are on the agenda. If anyone's here and wants to speak on something we've discussed tonight.
I can finish my statement. No. I only have I don't know if two this is part of technically the agenda, but you guys have some comments about it. You want me to-
Yes, you do have to sign in and use the
I am
microphone.
signing in.
The microphone is what enables people who are at home to hear you. If you speak over there, people. And yeah, we do have the 3-minute timer
Oh,
still.
no problem. Carol Villamil, question, and somebody mentioned this, and we live on Eckford Drive, which has gone through changes and everything else. And I was downstairs talking yesterday to engineering, actually talked to you yesterday too about some other stuff going on. Question was regarding trees and things like that. And somebody said, I think you said, oh, we watch it, they have to do it. Well, Mondrian on our street took down more percentages than they were supposed to. And the engineering comment was, well, we took care of it, we probably fine them, who knows how much money or whatever. But the one across the street now is supposed to stay, but it's still working again, and it's a new buyer, it's still held up with the state on some issues. But they're supposed to preserve a bunch of that area. Is somebody gonna camp out? Because the comment was made to me, well, there was a mistake, they weren't supposed to take all those trees down. Who's gonna police that part by us, and all of a sudden, after a tree's gone,
It's gone.
you don't get this little twig back to compensate for the trees that are, I mean, we've got pictures of when they tore everything down, and you can't even put 2 or 3 of us to hold hands and hug them. So I guess that's the question, is who's gonna police this and what area polices it? To make sure, as an example, the new project on our street, which is still pending, is not gonna take down a bunch of those trees that supposedly have been approved not to be taken down.
Fair question.
And that,
I can
you
answer
know,
that.
yeah.
Thank
Do
you.
you have more questions you want to ask?
No, it's basically the trees and the neighborhoods. I do agree with your affordable living stuff too, though. For our sons are not looking, can't afford to live in Troy. So,
Thank you.
yeah, but
I'm gonna let Mr. Sabanat respond to that, because that's always my fear here. All the work that we do here,
Yeah.
we discuss things for hours and hours, and then we let it go, and we hope that it's what we approved is happening for real.
Yeah, you can sit down.
Okay.
Yeah,
and we know there's change. We understand change, but
yeah, so,
preserve stuff.
Yeah, so-
Oops, they cut down too many trees.
So a site plan is a contract, and when a developer presents a site plan, it's sealed and signed by their professionals, and they're obligated to develop what's in the contract. Having said that, now, are mistakes made sometimes? Yeah, mistakes are made, and it's unfortunate, but we can be very punitive with tree removal. We take tree protection is very important to this community. Around tax season, you'd be amazed at how many people pay their taxes, come by my office and talk to JR and I and say, there's too many trees getting cut down. Like, we understand that tree protection is really important. And what we do before the homes that are being constructed get certificates of occupancy and get lived in is we do a site compliance inspection, and we compare what's there in the field to what was approved. And if there's deficiencies, we make sure the developer addresses those deficiencies. Regarding older trees, larger trees that are cut down, we can be very heavy-handed. Cutting down one tree that's 16 inches in diameter at breast height, that's like this, you can't just plant a little sapling and be 1-for-1. You've got to more than make up for that loss of inches. So that site is still under construction.
They haven't started.
It's still, you know,
pending all
it's
the-
still winter. But once the weather gets better and once things start to wind down, and also for new trees, so sometimes they're gonna preserve trees, they're also gonna add some trees. They typically do that at the end, because if they do it at the beginning, they can get damaged by construction, so that's at the end. So that's an opportunity if a developer does send a crew out that cuts too many trees down by accident, they can over-order trees and they can replace. So besides the ones that they said they're gonna plant, they can plant additional trees to replace the ones that were accidentally cut down. So we do inspect, we do get to a place where they're compliant, and we're not at a point yet where we've inspected the trees, but that'll come in the spring or summer when we're asked to go do a site compliance inspection.
All right, yeah, does somebody kind of watch it, because they can go oops, and then, I know there's.
You know who watches it?
Neighbors.
The neighbors.
Okay, so we can call
So
it
you
that.
just-
So we will be,
You just put them on notice. Now we're made aware of it.
Yeah, I know where you are.
We had a really good talk
We
today.
had a nice. very good discussion.
Another comment that was made was, what happens if a year later the trees die? Isn't there, I think it's a year that they have to make sure that they.
Well, there's a lot of times when developers get trees from nurseries, the trees, they're planted by experts, and there's a certain time that if they die, they're replanted by the nursery. But we look at, again, a site plan's a contract. And it's no different than a dumpster or a dumpster screen or a bike rack or whatever. They're required to do it, and if the tree dies, they need to replant the tree.
Okay.
You know, if it's a greenbelt tree and it died, they need to be replanted.
Okay.
Now, it gets a little bit nuanced if it's an open space preservation area and it's just an elm tree or whatever that just gets old and dies in an open space preservation area. It's a little more nuanced. There's conservation language that probably would say, oh, well, you know, trees die. But for, you know, it really depends what type of tree it is.
Or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, understood. Okay. Mr. Tagle?
I maybe should know this. Who does the review? Is it the engineering department when they come out and do all of this, looking at the site improvements on a project?
It's usually someone, so the site plan elements, like counting the number of parking spaces and trees, that's planning. That'll be JR, that'll be me, that'll be one of my code enforcement guys who we've trained to do it. You have a weird expression on your face.
I've never seen either of you out in a few.
I actually own work boots, believe it or not.
Do you? Have you taken them out of the closet?
They're not dirty, but I own them. Wow.
That's hilarious. All right, I think that that closes, unless anyone else has anything to say for public comment? Okay, we're going to move on to Planning Commission comment, and I'm going to start with Ms. Malala Holly.
Nothing, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Tagle?
Fine, thanks.
Mr. Kraft?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
2 webinars. One Oakland County's Planners Gathering. It's a week from today, February 17th, from 10 to 11. It has to do with Oakland County Food Landscape Study and the Southfield Food Waste Pilot Program. Now, I saw on Channel 4 a couple days ago, they highlighted the Southfield Food Waste Pilot Program, and they actually have like collection boxes for food that you waste, and they have these bags that self-destruct after. And so it's like, anyway, they've got an ongoing pilot program, something that we might want to listen to. And then the other item is from the Michigan Association of Planning, and it's all about making renewables add up. Again, it's another Zoom one. It's on March 5th from 3 to 4:30 p.m. in the afternoon.
Thank you.
Sure.
Nothing from me.
Mr. Hudson?
Nothing.
Okay, Mr. Kraft?
Just a quick question about the Sustainable Design Review Committee. Does that have any type of a fixed schedule, or is it kind of when an application comes in, it gets scheduled whenever people are available? Okay, thank you.
I just had a question about had a selection been made for people who were interested in going to the conference, the national conference in April?
There's only one who's expressed interest. Mr. Kraft.
Oh, we were gonna share our paths.
Unless I missed an email that someone sent me that said they were interested.
You want to go?
Unfortunately, I couldn't, I wanna go, but I can't that weekend, so.
I'll double
Got too many
check.
kids.
I'll double check with Mr. Beekner and Mr. Lambert, but
Okay,
that was Mr. Krantz, the only one who
cool.
was in the affirmative.
Good, great.
I think we have a good choice.
All right, Ms. Dufresne?
I'm all set, thank you.
Mr. Sabato?
Saturday, I went to East Lansing and attended the Michigan Association of Planning Student Conference.
Cool.
This is my second year in a row. They have roundtables where professional planners can sit at a table, and every 7 minutes, the bell's rung, and you get new students that come and sit and ask you questions and interact.
Speed dating.
It's kind of like speed dating. It's really cool. It's cool. It's cool to be connected with young people. The future looks bright. A lot of very sharp and very diverse group of planning students that are going to enter the workforce. It's very exciting.
Cool. JR?
No comment.
No comment? All right, then we'll adjourn. Thank you, everyone.